Hi, welcome to the practice for constructive rest and legs up the wall. These are practices we use to help relax the low back and to help deepen the breath the whole way down into the hips. Primarily what we're doing in these practices is putting the hips in a position where this deep hip flexor muscle, your psoas muscle, has an opportunity to fully relax. Now, this is a muscle that can contribute to a lot of low back pain and low back holding. So when we give that muscle an opportunity to reset, so to speak, it starts to ungrip some of what's going on in the low back. These positions also give the breath an opportunity to deepen, to slow down, because the psoas muscle actually also has a lot to do with how you're breathing. And so really we're helping to cultivate a sense of relaxation in the breathing patterns. How it works, I'll show you two ways to get into it. The first will be a version for those of us with tighter hamstrings, tighter legs and hips in general, because we'll do it with bent legs. So there's less of a stretch going on in the back of the leg. You'll set yourself up. I've set myself up today with yoga blocks and yoga blankets because I happen to be at the yoga studio. When I do this at home, I use the couch or I use my bed, or if you happen to have a bunch of big bulky cushions around, you can stack them on top of each other. The things that we want to be careful about are creating something sturdy enough that you're not worried about it tipping over. We want it to be strong enough to support you stably. And then also setting up something high enough that your thigh bones can come perpendicular to the floor and your lower legs can fully relax. That might mean taking a blanket on top of the couch or a pillow on top of the couch to actually make the couch a little bit higher. How you'll get into it, whatever you're using at home, is get yourself set up like this, and then you scoot yourself sideways to it. So you bring your hip right up next to whatever that building block is for you. And then as you lay down, you spin your legs right on top of it. So you can see this takes a little bit of scooching into it, right? I kind of wiggle my body a little bit closer so that if I can, I get this corner of the surface to actually support right under my knees. This allows for my thigh bones to come perpendicular to the floor, and that's the position that's going to help us relax that deep hip muscle. I'd also recommend having something under your head, because if you'll notice, when I take that support out, my chin juts up into the sky. This actually creates a little bit of tension in my neck. So bringing something under the head, even the whole way to touch the shoulders, can help us keep the neck, the curve of the neck, a little bit supported. Then I'll let my arms come out to the sides, or if that's not comfortable, you can let them rest on the torso, and take a few rounds of breath to work the breath the whole way from hips to shoulders and then from shoulders to hips. So it looks a little something like this. Now you can stay here as long as you're comfortable. I would encourage you to stay at least 3 to 5 minutes. That allows the brain and the muscle to both relax enough to carry that relaxation forward with them. When you're ready to get up, take your legs off, whatever that surface is, and roll to one side. Take a moment here on your side to let your body land. And then when you're ready to sit up, you press down into the ground to come up gently, come up mindfully. When we give the low back an opportunity to relax that way, we also want to give it an opportunity to very slowly come out. Listen to going slower. Listen to the signals coming from your body as you make that shift back up. The other way we can practice a similar posture for the same benefits is to, instead of using the couch or the bed or whatever the setup is to actually use the wall. This is for those of us who have a little more flexibility in the legs, because it requires a little bit more openness along the hamstrings, the backs of the legs, the hips, the low back. So what you'll do is basically the same. You'll come to right up next to the wall, scoot yourself nice and close to it with your hip touching the wall, and then as you lay down, spin your body so the backs of your legs go up against the wall. Your head might land on a pillow or a blanket, something to support the back of the neck. And then again, take a few moments, take a couple cycles of breath to invite the body to settle into place here. Take a couple cycles of breath to move the breath the whole way from the hips to the shoulders, from the shoulders to the hips. Just like the other setup, stay here for a couple minutes, as long as you're comfortable. And then when you're ready to come out, roll off to one side. Take a moment to land. Press your palms into the ground to press yourself back up gently, mindfully. If you find in these practices that your low back is still gripping a little bit or is kind of unhappy as you're coming into these, you can actually set up with a blanket or a pillow under the low back. If that's how you'd like to practice, you'll come up next to the wall with your hip next to the wall and with that blanket or pillow behind your low back. This time, as you lie back, your low back lands on the pillow or the blanket. And as you spin to face the wall, you have some support under the low back. Just like the other practices, when you're ready to come out, you'll roll off to one side. You'll come back slowly and with support. Have fun exploring. Take it breath by breath, and be well.